Welcome everyone. This is going to be part one of the Endless Runner game tutorial. And I'm just going off of a written tutorial on the GDevelop website. And I'm just making a video version of it. There will be some differences because this tutorial was written a little while ago using a slightly older version of GDevelop. And I'm using GDevelop 5, and it's the latest version from the GDevelop team. Okay, so we're going to end up with an endless runner that has randomly generated platforms here and a score system, a high score element here. All right, so let's get going. Okay, so you of course need to download the GDevelop app. We're going to make a player sprite, platform obstacles, and we're going to have a score display. You'll then need to go ahead and download the resources, and I do believe they come down as a RAR file. So you'll need to be able to extract that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to create a new project. And this step is really important here. So let me just set up my project folder. So here's my desktop. Here's my assets folder that has all the font, audio, and the sprite images there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that into a main project folder, just so I have everything all nice and neat. Okay, get back to my tutorial, and now I'm going to go ahead and launch GDevelop. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project, and this is really important. Before you click on empty game, you want to come down here and choose the folder where you're going to save your game. So I'm going to navigate to my desktop, Endless Runner tutorial, and hit open. Okay, good. Now I'll go ahead, choose empty game, and I'm going to go ahead and click up here in the top left to create a brand new scene. Then I'll click on these three dots and I'll rename it. I'm only going to have one level here, so I think I'm just going to call this main. And there we go. And then I can double click the new main scene, and here we are in the scene editor. Okay, excellent. So I've got my main scene here, and then I've got another tab up here for events. That's coding if you've never done this before. Okay, so now we're going to make our first object over here on the top right, and we're going to make a sprite, and this is going to be a player. It's always a good idea to name your objects, and I'm going to add an animation. The very first one is going to be called an idle animation, and I'll click on add. And because I set up my folder properly in the first step, it automatically goes right to this folder here, my project folder, which does make it a little easier. And I believe it's going to be this one here called stand. There we are. And I'll hit open. Okay. Next, it looks like we're going to need a jumping and a running animation. So again, I'm just scrolling down here. I'm already on step 4. They do a good job in the tutorial breaking things down. Some of the steps are really easy, and some of them are pretty complex. So I'm going to, like I said, break it up. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll create those other animations. So I'll add an animation. This one will be jump. All right, awesome. And the last one, this will be run or running. We'll make it easy. And on this one, this is the only one that is actually animated. So I'm going to click on the very first frame, which is called 01. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on the very last one there and choose open. And then you'll see that he's got all of that in there. I'm going to click on preview. You can see he's walking there. Again, I can speed it up, and I'm going to turn on loop. So now if I preview it, you'll see he's going like that. And I'm guessing that I'm going to want to make that a little bit quicker. I'll try 0.05. There we go. So that's better. I might want to go make it a little bit quicker. Okay, so what's interesting is they actually say in the tutorial they show to loop the jump animation. So I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but I'm going to go ahead and follow along. All right, now I want to add a behavior. So up here it says behaviors, And I'm going to go ahead and add a behavior, and it's going to be just the platform character one. Okay, so the tutorial shows you a good screenshot here. So they're saying to uncheck default controls because we're not going to be using the traditional arrows to move your character left and right. And then we're going to do the jump function through events, through coding. Other than that, though, all of the settings look good as is. If I go back here, let's see, 1500 for acceleration and deceleration. That looks good. And we'll go ahead and hit apply. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to go back up here and click on edit object, and I'm going to turn off looping for the jump one. I think that was a mistake in the screenshot that they showed, and I'll hit apply. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save my game, and there we are. Okay, so now we're going to create the platform, and this is a sprite, but this one is a tiled sprite. So again, new object, tiled sprite. Platform, and then on this one you got to click, oops, not edit with Piskel. Sorry, click inside here and choose a new image. Okay, so they are saying right here, and this is the important part in tutorials, is you got to read all the text in between. So they're saying to change the width and the height of the, so they're saying change the default width to 193, and default height to 40. All right, we'll hit apply. And actually, whoops, it looks like I misspelled platform. Okay, and we want to go to behaviors here, and we want to add a behavior, and we want to make this a platform so that way our character can land on it and it's like a solid object. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get those two objects in there and see what that looks like. And for this, I like to turn on the grid usually. So again, I come up here to this little blue grid here, choose show grid. And then that way, when it comes in and snaps in, you can see that it comes in just fine. The problem with this though is that the block is not set up to 32 by 32. It's actually set up a little bit more. So I think I'm going to just disable the grid for now. Okay, and I'll bring in the player. There we are, and save. Okay, so now I need to go ahead and duplicate some platforms, kind of lay it out like this, just randomly. So I'm on a Mac, and so what I can do is I can hold down the Command key and just click and drag, and that will go ahead and duplicate. On Windows, I'm pretty sure you can copy and paste, select it, press Control-C, then Control-V to paste. Okay, I'm going to do something like that. Notice that I have gone outside the game window here a little bit, so that's fine. Maybe I'll go down here a little bit. Something like that. Okay. Whoops. And I'll just kind of design it like they did in the tutorial. So hopefully my character can jump this much. Okay, and save. Okay, so we need to lay in some more platforms, and we're going to design outside of the game window here. So I'm going to zoom out on a Mac, pressing Command- a couple times. And then if I press the space bar, if I hold down the space bar, I can pan. Sorry about my display down there. And I'll just go ahead and design a couple more here. something like that. Okay, and I'm going to add in the background now, and so that is an object, it's a sprite. And it's going to be using the graphic called background number 2. Interesting. The tutorial says to use background number 2, but they're showing to use background number 1. Okay, well, maybe that's just a mistake. I'm going to go ahead and use the one that they show. Okay, so if I go ahead and drag it in, you can see it's significantly large. And you can see it's covering everything up. So to make it go behind everything, you just click on it, and then over here, you go over here in the properties where it says Z order, and you just choose a lower number. I'll go ahead and choose 1. And then there we go. Actually, let's go ahead and try 0. There we go. Okay, 0 is the magic number, and we'll save. Okay, and we do have to resize this, so just select it, click on the handles, and you can go ahead and bring it on in. Okay, all right, so I'm going to call that it for part 1, coming up here to 12 minutes. In part 2, it looks like we're going to get into creating events and making the game functional. So we'll start getting into that, which is going to make things more complex and more interesting. All right, I will see you in part 2.